going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday, happy hump day to everybody. If you were able to tune in for the Behind Enemy Lines, thank you for doing that. I was on another channel, got a great invitation, was able to chop it up with a fantastic 49er fan. Shout out to my man Jess with Last Second Sports. But I did want to holler at my people because I saw the chat. The chat was going crazy. Didn't get a chance to really interact with my family. So, with that being said, I said, let me open up another space so that we can actually talk about this game with the family. So, let me know if the audio is good. Let me know if the visual is good. Shout out to the 7 people that are already in the building. Make sure you hit that like button. And let the algorithm know that we in the building. Shout out to my man Donovan in the building. Says we made it back from enemy territory. That's a fact. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. He also said, go G, man. That's a fact. Darian Smith says, yo, what's good? What's going on, man? Again, I appreciate you guys for hanging out on the other space, on the other channel, with my man Jesse. But again, want to get a chance to talk to you guys, see how you guys are feeling, talk about some of the news, this whole Carl Banks, Dexter Lawrence thing. I haven't got a chance to really talk about that with the people. So I just want to highlight the family. Luann, what's going on, Luann? Since I like when Dash is alone. I don't know what even like. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you for the love and support. Thank you for the love and support. Bramsey said, what up, Big Dash? What's going on? My man, side guy Brian in the building says, let's start a one-game winning streak. That's what it's about, man. We got to start stacking these W's at some point in time, right? We got to start it at some point in time. Luann says Dart will win all games at home. I hope so. If that's the case, then that's pretty good. That is pretty good. But is that enough to keep this regime intact? We'll see about that, though. I want to talk about this whole Carl Banks, Dexter Lawrence thing, man. I've seen it's been a pretty much of a split between how people feel about the comments that Carl Banks made. I wasn't mad about the comments that Carl Banks made, if I'm going to be honest. Some people got issues with it. Some people got issues with what he said, or certain portion of it, of players not respecting Dexter Lawrence. And I think a lot of people took that literally. I didn't take that literally, because there's no way that Carl Banks believes that players don't respect Dexter Lawrence. I think he was trying to light a fire, trying to put some emphasis on a point. And I think the point got across, at least the beat writers. The beat writers, the way that they played it, especially today when they had Dexter Lawrence, at his locker and they were talking to him about it. Obviously, comments became comments, and now it's billboard material. I think it could have been avoided. But again, that's what the beat writers do. When there's not anything to talk about, they will make something to talk about. Shout out to my man Mark Thompson in the building, said, hey, Dad, what's going on, Mark? How we doing? I know you down there, man. Are you affected by that storm at all? Let me know. I know it's in the Caribbean. I know Jamaica is getting that was it Hurricane Melissa, but are you safe? Let me know, because I know you're in the Caribbean, so I don't know how close that is to you. Ronald Hecko says this is the week the defense play a full game. I hope so. And then I guess what, man? Glad I did get a chance to talk to the 49er fan too, because I saw some things with that offensive line. I feel like that is a weak spot for them, and I think we should be able to exploit that. Christian McCaffrey is a monster, though. Even though a lot of people think he might have lost a step, when you look at this Giants defense, especially running on the edges, they've been very, very successful. Teams have been very, very successful. So we got to make sure we lock things down when it comes to Christian McCaffrey. Breaking NYG says said W on the 49ers, and I think the comments made will light a fire under decks. I think, like I said, I think so. He said he called Banks delusional. He did say that, but he also said that it doesn't inspire him or do anything else to him. It doesn't affect him at all, which I believe is absolute cap. I saw his face. He probably didn't like it. I'm just hoping that Dex plays mad. If we can get a mad Dexter Lawrence, fantastic. Which good FaZe says this generation is soft. He's trying to motivate. Yeah, I think he is too, man. And just think about it. Like if those words made you feel a certain way, imagine being coached by Bill Parcells, right? But now you're absolutely right, man. It's generational gaps as far as how coaches deal, or I should say how words affect players and stuff like that. But again, we're talking about a 2-time Super Bowl champion, Carl Banks. If he can't call out somebody, then who can? And that's my opinion as well. My man Mark says no issues with the storm here. Jamaica is devastated, mostly the western section. I did see that on the news. I do have family there, and they are safe. That's good to know. God bless that. Because again, God bless Jamaica too, man. Keep as many people safe as possible. I saw like 180-mile-an-hour winds and stuff. That is devastating. So our hearts, go out and our prayers go out to Jamaica for sure. Ronald Hecko says Carl only says what he believes is true. Love the guy. Again, I didn't see anything wrong with what Carl Banks said. Not a thing. And again, if he can't call somebody out, who can? Who can? Because we already see that the coaches don't do anything really, or at least if the coaches do say anything, that they're not seeing any kind of anything different as far as on the field. But yeah, man, I got into a couple back and forths with people on Twitter about what Carl Banks said, and I just can't see. I don't see it being an issue, really. At the end of the day, and if ultimately this lights a fire under Dexter Lawrence, then so be it. So be it. Faye says back in the day, youngins had respect for legends. Dex needs to ball out. And the other thing, well, here's the thing though. Dex didn't say anything wrong either. Outside of calling him delusional. But again, when Carl Banks said, players don't respect him, I just think that was light of fire. I don't believe one bit that Carl Banks believes that teams don't respect Dexter Lawrence. But that's the way he took it. And again, generations are generations. Ronald also says they said Barkley lost a step too. Nah, that's a fact. Yeah, he looked fine to me. And I've seen Christian McCaffrey this year. Outside of that Texans game last week, Christian McCaffrey looks fine to me. I don't want to fall into that trap of thinking somebody lost a step because it is the New York Giants defense at the end of the day, and we be giving it up in the run game for sure. Pause. Darian says, I think Carl Banks is the perfect person to say what he said because he's done this before. He's played at the highest level. Dex was demolishing double teams last year and cannot be found. Yeah. And that's the thing too, man, because when I first saw the podcast, I saw the comments, I heard the comments. I did not think it was going to blow up to where it is right now. And one of the things that he said is, and that made sense to me that I couldn't even argue with, is like, Dex is Dex, but when you see Dex take a breather and you got guys like Roy Robinson Harris, you got guys like Darius Alexander, Nacho, DJ Davidson, get in there and they're able to get pressure or get some push against the same guys that Dex is going against. You got to call it out a little bit. And also, I heard a lot of people saying that maybe Dex is still hurt. Well, if you're hurt, do what Andrew Thomas did. Step to the side until you feel right. Now, I think that a 75%, 80% Dexter Lawrence is better than anybody that we have at the defensive tackle position. So maybe he's out there because he wants to be out there with his guys, with his teammates, with his brothers. But if you're not right, there's no reason to go out there and hurt yourself even more, especially when the season we're sitting at 2-6 right now. Jabari says, let the tank begin. This season isn't going anywhere at 2 and at 5. Listen, you don't have to tank though. You already have your quarterback. Usually tank for a quarterback. Listen, no matter where the New York Giants are picking this year, it's going to be a solid pick, especially in the first round. And the crazy thing about this is depending on where we are, if we're picking in the top 10, I'm looking to trade back anyway. If I can't get Jordan Tyson at wide receiver, I'm probably trading back because I want more day 2 picks. That's where the strength of this class is in day 2. So if we get into that scenario where we do have a top 10 pick, top 5 pick, hopefully not. Right now we're sitting at 6. I'm looking to trade back and get more draft capital because I want more at bats in this draft for sure. Mark Thompson says, I totally think that Banks is looking to motivate the team. Now, I believe it. And again, sometimes things get lost in translation. And then once other people start putting their spins on it, it is what it is. And once the beat writers got a hold of it, they ran with it. And you figured he wasn't asked that question just once either, man. There was a couple people asking the same questions about Carl Banks. And then I saw them also bring up the questions or the comments that Carl Banks made to Brian Dable. And Brian Dable was like, hey, we got enough to worry about with the 49ers. I'm curious to see, though, if we do see that show that we see every week Coach's Corner with Carl Banks and Brian Dable. Because if we don't see that show, then it might be a little bit more serious than we think. But if we see them put that show out where they're sitting next to each other, talking, previewing the 49ers game, then we should be all right as far as the communication in the building. Bramsey says we need a spy on Christian McCaffrey the entire game. He's their only weapon. He needs to be met at the line of scrimmage every play. I agree. Stuff to run, attack on screen plays, and jam on pass routes. Listen, I wish we did play man-to-man and we jammed on outside for sure. You heard what the guy said, man. That offense, that Shanahan offense is about timing. If you can disrupt the timing, then we should be able to get some success or have some success against the 49ers. And for me, if that pass rush doesn't get home, and you got the cornerbacks and that off man, then the timing is going to be right there for them. If we're off 8 yards, they're going to throw the slant. They're going to use Kittle too as well. So Kittle might hold the safeties, linebackers, and stuff like that. So this game to me is pretty much about how much pressure we can get on that quarterback, whether it's Brock Purdy or Mac Jones. And pretty much that's a game plan, every week. Run the ball, stop the run, get pressure on the quarterback. Nothing changes. That's football 101. Mark Thompson says the show before Banks was talking about how Parcells used to motivate people. That's what I'm saying. The way that Bill, like, you can look up the clips. It's on YouTube. Type in Bill Parcells rants or Bill Parcells yelling at players. Bill Parcells used to just dog players. But it came from a place of love, and it came from a place to try to motivate players. So he'll tell Lawrence Taylor, you suck. Does that mean Lawrence Taylor sucked? No, it doesn't. But Bill Parcells is going to do that to try to get something extra out of you. And I think, with Carl Banks, him saying that players don't respect you, obviously players respect Dexter Lawrence, but he's trying to make a point like, hey, Dex, you're better than this. And if you don't start showing that you're better than this, maybe these guys won't respect you. So it's a light of fire at the end of the day. And again, once the beat writers got a hold of it, it became something bigger than it had to be for sure. For sure. Because before you figure these comments were made on Monday, you didn't really hear. People talked about it a little bit on Tuesday, but once they let the media in with access to the players today, it became a big issue. And I'm pretty sure it's all over like ESPN and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens though. But I think that Carl Banks is absolutely fair in what he said. Was it Brat? Brat says, we have given up 10,000 yards rushing the last few years. We can't stop the run at all. Dex looked overweight and win it all season. I've been saying that too, man. Dexter Lawrence definitely came in this season heavier than he normally is. Obviously have him listed at the combine weight of 345 pounds. Dexter Lawrence is at least 360 pounds right now. I don't care what anybody says. And obviously he wasn't able to train the way that he normally trains in the offseason coming back off the injury. But again, man, and then you see him now, we're talking about 8 weeks in. There's no more, he's not in playing shape. No, he's played 8 games. He should be in playing shape now. But you see, even when he's walking off the field, he's leaning to the side. He's tired. He's absolutely tired. But again, you got a guy that's 360 pounds out there. He can't be, in having that amount of snaps. Come on. That's a lot for him. He got to come off about 20 pounds, though, in my opinion. Because I don't think he loses any power, any strength, any agility if he comes down. Well, his agility would be even better if he lost about 20 pounds. Ronald says, if we get a Debo and Flott back, we would certainly win. Well, Flott didn't pass concussion protocol, so it's going to be slim that he actually plays. Then also Debo did not practice today, even though Brian Dable said at the podium that they would be practicing today in some capacity. As far as Dan Salamone and Giants.com, they said that Debo did not practice and Javon Holland was limited practice. Ronald says, pick the best tackle in the draft. You trying to go offensive line in the first round? Depends on what happens. Depends on what happens with Illuminor. If we're able to get Illuminor re-signed, then I think that trying to draft a tackle in the first round doesn't happen. It's some pretty good tackles, man. That should be around in the second and third round that are also really good too. So we'll see what happens with that. Sean Morris just says this team sucks. There's a lot of holes for sure. There's a lot of improvement that needs to happen as well. Gypsy Boy Film says, I'm feeling a slight level of positivity for this game against the 49ers. You should. If you saw the Houston game against the 49ers, Houston did pretty much what they wanted. And we saw how Houston looked the week prior, and they looked awful. Um, CJ Stroud had like 318 yards, 2 touchdowns against the 49ers. But again, it's about coaching at the end of the day. I do think that there's a game plan for the New York Giants to win this game. And if we are starting to play with a lead, I think we should be good because when you look at the weapons of the San Francisco 49ers, they're depleted. Their number one guy is Jawan Jennings. And again, like my man Jesse said, he's disgruntled over there, and he might be actually on the move. So we'll see what happens. But I think even with the injuries that we're dealing with in the secondary, I do think that if this pass rush can get home, we should be in a good spot against these guys. And obviously, Christian McCaffrey. By any means necessary, we got to slow down or either stop Christian McCaffrey. Gypsy Boy also says this should be the game that Sexy Dexy makes a pronounced return. We haven't even seen the Sexy Dexy dance this season yet. Has anybody even noticed that? Have you seen Dexter Lawrence dance once this season? I don't believe so. I don't think so. We have not seen. I've seen more kids in college do it than Dexter Lawrence has this season. So, I mean, listen, if it's a breakout game for Dexter Lawrence, absolutely. And you know what else happens? If we see Dexter Lawrence play substantially better this game, a lot of people are going to go back and look at these Carl Banks comments and say maybe Carl was right. Or we definitely don't see anything wrong with Carl making those type of comments. Let me go ahead and put these, speaking of comments, let me go ahead and put those comments up so you guys can see it. And I just noticed that I'm bland without any kind of background music, so let me go ahead and do that as well. We're going to do that a little bit. Sound like I'm talking to myself. Oh, Josh says, what would it take for Bowman to be fired next Monday? 49ers score 30 on us. No, high 20, 30 on us. I got a little bit of experience here when it comes to getting Bowman fired. I think the whole the end of the season, Brian Dable's favorite, the whole chain went up. Good. Let me know if I'm having issues. Let me turn the music down. And let me know if I'm coming through clear. Let me turn that down a little bit. So if I'm having issues, let me know if I'm having issues. I'm good. I'm good now. Perfect. I'm good now. I'm good. All right, perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you for letting me know. My wife hit me up, let me know that it was issues too. And it's funny too. I see Faye's says fix your audio. Literally, when you say fix your audio, it's a bunch of buttons and stuff here. I'm still learning. It might just be the connection at the end of the day too. So if I'm good now, I'm good. Thank you. I'm clear now. Good, bro. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. So where was I at? The questions. Mark says Dable makes so many bad decisions. Nobody is talking about using Singletary as a kick returner when he only had 2 running backs in the game. Yeah, there's a lot of bad decisions being made by Brian Dable. But also it's out of necessity because who else are you going to put back there? What happened to did Gunnar Olszewski have issues? Because I saw him, he was back there. I saw him get high kneed though. Buddy did the Karate Kid on him in the second half. So I don't know if there was issues there, but they put Tyrone Tracy back there, they put Singletary back there. I think with all of these issues and also missing Cam Scatterbull, now will be the perfect time to actually elevate Turbo Miller. So that's something that I'm looking forward to this week to see if they actually get Turbo Miller on the field. Can he be a returner? Big Moo, what's going on? Shout out to the Big Moo in the building. Hassan Mendoza says the performance of Dart and the rest of his teammates will determine whether Dable and Shane will be fired on Black Monday. You know what? I would hate for it to be all Jackson Dart. as far as if these guys are saved or not. Because I keep saying one thing is they do not coach the New York Darts. They coach the New York Giants. They run the New York Giants. This team has to look better, not just Jackson Dart looking good. I don't think Jackson Dart solely looking good should be, the deciding factor of whether or not, these guys keep their jobs, in my opinion. Bramsey said, I hope we pull up Turbo. I hope so too, man. It's a perfect time too, because not only for the offense and having that extra running back, but also special teams. Put Turbo back there to return kicks. I'm here for it. Mr. Dagger Status says, I'm ready for a new coaching staff. You and me both, brother. You and me both. A lot of people, man, I've noticed on Twitter when I mentioned, Dable getting fired or something like that, they said, well, who are you going to replace him with? How are you gonna fire a coach and don't have his replacement? I'm sorry, that's what every team does. Every team fires their coach and then finds their replacement. They don't just have people lined up ready to go. If that was in case, in fact the case, then the Rooney Rule doesn't even exist. So for me, and then I also asked him the same question when they asked me who would I replace David with. I said, did you care about who you replaced Joe Judge with? Pat Shurmur, Ben McAdoo? Did you worry about it then? Then you shouldn't worry about it now. And as far as having enough coaching candidates, with the success of Jackson Dart so far and the way this defense looks on paper, I think this job is very desirable, for the next up-and-coming head coach or retread, I should say. Marco says Dex needs to concentrate on his own play. Than what Carl said. What's up from San Diego? Shout out to San Diego in the building. Carl should talk to the defense as a team. Well, listen, at the end of the day, Carl Banks is still, even though he's a legendary Giant, he's still a media personality. He works for the team. He does the play-by-play with Bob Papa. He has his podcast. And you would hope that he addresses the team as well. He said he talks to players. He's in that building. So even though he said this out loud on the podcast, I'm pretty sure he said something similar. He always says that anything that he says at the podcast, he'll say to the players' faces or he'll say it to the coaches' faces. So hopefully he did get a chance to talk to Dexter Lawrence. Now, will Dexter Lawrence receive that? I don't know. Okay, Mark says, I'm really interested in how this team responds to this latest adversity. The Commanders are 3-5, and we still have to play them. I was looking at the Commanders team, even with Jaden Daniels coming back. I believe he should be ready this week. I'm not worried about the Commanders that much, man. And again, remember what you say. I should say when it comes to Commander fans too, because they were so happy to say that the New York Giants were in the basement by themselves, and they found themselves right back in the basement with us. That's another thing, Donovan. I'm glad you're bringing that up. Apparently, trouble in paradise with KOC and the Minnesota Vikings. Listen, man, if I could trade a coaching staff as a whole, I would trade that Minnesota Vikings coaching staff right now with what we have. Kevin O'Connell, Brian Flores, Josh McCown. I would trade that entire coaching staff with ours right now if it was possible. Kelvin Davis says, have we brought up Turbo? No, we haven't brought him up this year yet. So, like I said, $40,000 is what it would cost you to bring up Turbo Miller for a game. We have that money. We can do that. Ronald says, got to go. Have a great night. I'm assuming. Great. Was great watching both your shows. Over 70. Time to over 70. Time to sleep. Wife should be calling. Well, you have a good night, man. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for vibing and showing your love and support, man. You have a good night. Bramsey says, Coach Prime. No, Bramsey. It says, Coach Prime might be the play we need to run. Nah, man, we ain't doing that. He got enough issues over there in Colorado trying to fix that system. Don't bring him here. Good Lord. Now, he might get a little bit more out of the players as far as motivation. But Coach Prime can stay in Colorado and fix what's going on over there for sure. for sure. The Big Moose says, Big Dash, what do you think about all this BS talk about trading Tibbs? That's crazy. You don't get rid of great players. What if someone gave us a first-round pick? No way. Well, first of all, they gave you a first-round pick. I think you move him because he's going to be asking for a lot of money. First-round pick moves the needle for me. Outside of that, you're absolutely right. You don't give up good players. You don't give up great players. And I'll also say this too, Big Mo. If we did not have Abdul Carter, then I'm still not moving him. But because you're just going to want to replace him anyway. But since we have Abdul Carter, if somebody calls and offers a first-round pick for Kayvon Thibodeau, which I don't think any team does, I'm definitely listening. But to your point though, you don't just trade away good players. Absolutely not. Especially when they're ascending right now, and you also have one more year of control. Even though I don't believe he'll play on that 5th-year option, he'll possibly hold out before playing on that 5th-year option. That's just my opinion. FaZe says, "Are you worried about new coaching staff will set Dart?" Absolutely not. Absolutely not, FaZe. The reason why I say that is when you look at Jackson Dart and the way he's making plays right now and the way the New York Giants are scoring points, a lot of that is out of structure. It's not the way the play was drawn up. He's doing a lot of that after the play is broken down. So I don't think that changing the coaching staff will affect Jackson Dart. It might hurt his feelings for a little bit because the coach is gone and he has to, get used to a new coach. But I don't think it'll affect his gameplay at all. Not at all. I could see if he was like a system quarterback, which I don't believe he's a system quarterback, then you could probably say something like that. I got you, Ronald. I figured that's what you meant. Hassan says Carl Banks is right. Dex has been underperforming. I don't know if it's because he is still hurt or if he is still going through physical decline. No, I don't think he's going through a physical decline. I do think he needs to be in shape. I do think he needs to lose some weight. He said, or is he worn down by the losing? I do think all of the losing has an effect on people. But again, at the end of the day, if you're not motivated by just the competition, be motivated by the amount of money that you're making at the end of the day. But, players are players, man. If you start to see Dexter Lawrence not play and start talking about the injured elbow or something like that, or it's tweaked or something like that, then you would be saying that he might be unmotivated due to all the losing. True Ball says, hell no, Coach Prime sucks as a coach. I'm not going to say that he sucks as a coach. I will say he's a master motivator for sure. There's some issues in Colorado. You know what? I'll step aside real quick and just talk about Colorado. To me, I think people realize that Shedeur, when Shedeur Sanders was coming out, a lot of people say, "Oh well, his dad is Deion Sanders. Deion is the reason why Colorado is winning." And then you realize this year that it was absolutely Shedeur Sanders pretty much put Colorado on his back. And we're seeing that because now you're looking at this Colorado team without Shedeur Sanders, and they look horrible. So, yeah, we gonna leave Prime alone for right now. I wouldn't say that he sucks, but he definitely needs he definitely needs some help. I'll leave it at that. And if he doesn't get the right amount of help, he might be out of there, even though he got a new deal. I think Colorado should have waited to see what that team looked like without Shedeur before they, gave him all that money. But it is what it is. That's you responding to FaZe. George Boney says, what up? Just saw you on the Last Second Sports. Yeah, I was out there, man. I appreciate Jesse for having me on the show. Yeah, it was cool, man. It was cool. Enjoyed it. Jesse's super cool too, man. Shout out to Last Second Sports. Both Josh and McLeod, you think they activate him this right? I don't know if they activate Ray, man. You figure last week Jalen Hyatt didn't even get a jersey, healthy scratch. That sucked for him. But Ray McLeod still didn't play. Now you do got to get used to this playbook. Even though he played with Dable back in 2018, he's been away from the system for a while. So for me, I do think they get one of those guys up, man. Whether it's Ray McLeod. I was hoping that they were going to sign Deontay Johnson since they brought him in for a tryout, but haven't heard anything after that tryout. So I think Ray gets picked up. You heard Jackson Dart talk about Ray McLeod today at the podium, talking about he's great, you know, you know, after the catch. So we'll see if we get him on the field. They did waive Juice Wells. They waived him off the practice squad. So, you know, if we can get somebody in here for Jackson Dart, why not? Big Moose says Tibbs isn't getting Aiden Hutchinson money. No chance. He's progressing nicely. Maybe if he has a great year next year, we'll see. Let me tell you something, man. That Aiden Hutchinson deal threw a monkey wrench in the game for sure. Aiden Hutchinson, what was it? 180 million, 141 guaranteed, about $45 million a year. In the same draft class as Kayvon Thibodeau. So with him getting $45 million a year, and I was arguing with people this morning about it too in the Giant Spaces on Twitter, and in some of the chats. Because I think that before that happened, I thought that maybe we can get a deal done with Tibbs. 4 years, $100 million, $60 million guaranteed. About $25 million per. With those guarantees. And then I saw the Aiden Hutchinson deal. I was like, man, Tibbs might ask for 30, 35 million if Hutchinson is asking for 45. And I'm sorry, my pockets ain't deep enough to pay Tibbs 35 million per. I'm sorry. 22, 23, 24, max 28, possibly. You can do that if you want to do that. But that's just steep. That's real money for the Giants, and I don't know about that. You do have a quarterback on a rookie contract, though, so anything is possible. You can get rid of some contracts. You can restructure some contracts and make some more cap space, because I believe right now we're down to like 15 million in cap space for 2026. If you make a couple of moves with Dexter Lawrence and possibly Brian Burns, you can free up almost $30 million to add to that 15. It gives you a little bit more breathing space, but it's just about if you want to do that. You do have Wan'Dale Robinson on a contract year. You got Bellinger on a contract year. You got Jermaine Illuminor on a contract year. Cordell Flott on a contract year. That's a lot of contracts. So even if you don't want to re-sign some of those guys, if you don't re-sign them, you got to find their replacement outside of what you do in the draft. So the New York Giants got some money to spend, or I should say have some holes to address and some money to spend in 2026. So we'll see what happens. Darian says, I've heard someone mention Mike I've heard someone mention Mike McCarthy as a possible candidate instead of going for another first-time head coach. What's your thoughts? I don't want Mike McCarthy anywhere near the New York Giants. He's had success, yes. But you tell me all those years that he coached Aaron Rodgers, he only got one Super Bowl out of Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to see Mike McCarthy coaching the New York Giants. I am not. Jib Man 7415 says coaching Dable versus Shanahan. Yeah, man. Let me tell you this, man. I don't think it's close as far as coaching and coaching ability. But I do think as far as a healthy roster, I think our roster is healthier than the 49ers right now, going over that whole injury report with my man Jesse. He probably can do more with the squad that we have as far as players that actually take the field. Sean Jackson says with Dash, with our New York Giants injury bug, the 49ers are a franchise we need to study to learn how to win despite injuries. Do we trust the regime to get the most out of Dart's quarterback contract? Can't waste it. That's exactly why I feel like you need new coaching staff after this season. I don't want to wait. Not only do I not want to waste Jackson Dart, I don't want to waste any more years of Andrew Thomas. I don't want to waste any more years of Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Malik Neighbors, Cam Scatterable when he comes back. I don't want to waste any of these players' years. For me, I got to get a Super Bowl by 2029 to keep the streak alive of a Super Bowl in every decade since 1980. So that's my goal. And I don't trust the regime right now. I do not trust the regime right now. We'll see what happens, though. True Baller 32 says, how many touches for Tracy this week? Hopefully 20 plus. That's a lot. I think you're going to see a healthy dose of both Tracy and Singletary. The funny thing is as soon as Scatterable started running, did you notice that the other running backs try to run hard or are running harder as well? Especially Devin Singletary. He's taking the tough yards now, too. Now, he's no Cam Scatterable, but he's running with a lot more force. I don't know if anybody else noticed that. And then Tyrone Tracy has something to prove too, because he went into this season as the starting running back. And that Cam Scatterbull is, done for the season. I believe that Tyrone Tracy does have a chip on his shoulder. And if he stays healthy, he's going to try to make a point, make an example that he's still, a valuable piece for the New York Giants. So I'm curious to see what an inspired Tyrone Tracy looks like. But 20 plus, I think that's a lot as far as 20 touches. But with what we have on the outside of wide receivers, not out of the realm of possibility at all. Marco Mendoza says, with the BS record we have, I still watch them every Sunday. We haven't been exciting in years. The season is different. I like for this year. You said I like for this year to have a better record than the Cowboys. Right now, the Cowboys are 3-4. Just think about, and I was looking at this too, man, because you got the Eagles at 6-2, and then you have the Cowboys at 3-4, and the Commanders at 3-4, or the Cowboys at 3-4-1, or 3-3-1. I can't remember, but the whole point is, if you hold on to that Denver Broncos game, if you hold on to that damn Dallas game, and then also if you actually beat the Saints, the New York Giants would be second. We'll have 5 wins. We'd be 5-3, and we'll be right there in the hunt. But we can't finish games right now. A lot of that got to do with, Shane Bowen and his defensive scheme. What's going on, Phil? Phil says, Dash, I'm a Brian Thomas Jr. fan. I didn't know you was a Brian Thomas Jr. fan, but I'm also a fan of Brian Thomas. Are you getting at the rumors of possible trade? Now, I did see some people say they would trade Kayvon Thibodeau for Brian Thomas straight up. I would entertain something like that. But again, I would love to see Brian Thomas with Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton next year. That will be a solid wide receiver room, to say the least. Derek Garcia says, would we like bringing over Spags from K? You know what? I've heard this a lot. So a lot of Giants fans, what we like to do is we like to go to the past, find somewhere where we had some success and try to bring that back. And I always say for us, the Giants, we're chasing the Giants of old, and what we need to do is modernize and rebrand. And then the other point is this, man. I don't think Steve Spagnuolo is leaving the Kansas City Chiefs. That is a comfortable job to have. Him and Andy Reid probably going to end up retiring together. And then also, he's almost 70 years old. Does he want to leave the comfort of Kansas City and try to come to New York and make us a competitor? Maybe he still has it in him. I don't know. But that's a lot to ask from Spags, man. Love Spags, though. Love Spags, especially as a DC. He struggled as a head coach, though, way back in the day. Big Moose says McFadden also contract year. A lot of players on contract years, they're going to need to be creative or get creative. That's why Shane makes the big bucks. Talk to Howie. He'll tell you how to do it. Yeah, void years is how you do it. You add a lot of void years to the back of contracts, and that's how you get a lot of these deals, under the cap. One thing that we know is that not Brian Dable, but Joe Shane does not do void years. I think the New York Giants are like one of 4 teams that don't have any current contracts with void years on them. They don't believe in it. So we'll see what happens. Again, we don't know if it's going to be this regime that does a lot of the decision making in 2026. Phil says, Dash. Oh, I already saw that. Sorry. Bookend tackles. What's going on, Bookend? He says, how can you when the team is so undisciplined? That's coaching. Okay. So how can you win? How can you when the team is so? How can we what? I missed what you said. Did I miss another comment? What you talking about? Let me know. Dwayne Murphy, what's going on, Dwayne? Ain't seen you in a while, brother. He says, Big Dash, do you believe Dexter Lawrence will respond well in the game this week to Carl Banks calling him out? I hope so, man. I hope so. I'm going to ask you a question, Dwayne. Did you have a problem? Did you have a problem with Carl Banks saying what he said about Dexter Lawrence? Let me know. I was talking about that early. I don't know if he was in the building at that point in time, but let me know how you feel about what Carl Banks, or if you had any issues with what Carl Banks said. The fan said Bill Belichick, yeah, and I laughed right in the fan's face. Absolutely. Listen, man. We got to stop with this Bill Belichick stuff, man. The Bill Belichick, that whole situation with Bill Belichick is a circus. An absolute circus. Now, Bill Belichick as a defensive coordinator, that's something different. But Bill Belichick as a head coach, I don't think he got it in him anymore. That man went to UNC, and UNC is a disaster right now. An absolute disaster. And then they can't buy him out of his contract because the money is ridiculous. So I can't do the Bill Belichick thing. If you would have asked me 10 years ago about Bill Belichick, maybe even 5 years ago, I would have said yes to Bill Belichick. But right now, listen, it's way too much drama with Bill Belichick. Way too much drama. Was it Jib Man says, true at Dable versus Shanahan. The question is, will our defensive coordinator call the right plays at the right time? Listen, one thing I'll say about the defensive coordinator, we normally start off with a pretty good game plan. What we mess up is when other teams punch back, or when the team takes a lead, or when in this entire coaching staff just panics. That's the problem. We don't know how to finish. We like the game plan might be perfect. You saw the Denver game. Game plan was perfect. Offense and defense. As soon as Denver started to come back, they panicked like tremendously. Offense, defense was awful. And that's the problem, man. They drew up good game plans. We look good in the first quarter, second quarter. We get to the second half, and it's just like, what happened to the team that was just out here? They go to halftime and disappear. Mark says, same winning formula, run the ball, start fast, and keep the lead so the pass rush can work. Absolutely. Bowen doesn't understand that the identity of the team is aggressive. No, you're absolutely right, man. It's a problem. It's a problem when your defense, your players need to schedule a meeting with you and say, hey, we want to play more aggressive. And you did it for a week. And then you went right back to the same old stuff. And we can't have it, man. We can't have it. Bramsey says, what do you think about us bringing up Fedoni since we're hurting at the receiver? Well, they don't have to bring him up. He's already on the 53. He just was a healthy scratch for a lot of games. The last 2 or 3 games, he did actually get a jersey, but we haven't been using him. He got in there for a second when Bellinger got hurt, but they're not using Thomas Fedoni. For me, the way I would use Thomas Fedoni is in the big slot. Get him a matchup on the smallest safety, possibly a linebacker. The man is 6'6", almost got a 7-foot wingspan. You telling me you can't get him on the field, especially in the red zone? Play basketball with him. Throw the alley-oop. Throw him a high pass, let him come down with it. That's how I would use Fedoni. He's a lot more athletic than people think. He has good hands. He can run after the catch. We just haven't seen it yet, and I don't know why. Manhurts is on the injury report, though. I believe Manhurts was on the injury report, limited practice with an illness. But whatever we can do to get Fedoni on the field, man, would be fantastic. Get him some targets, especially in the red zone. Why when says hearing from the Vikings that KOC might be on the chopping block. Listen, that'd be the dumbest mistake they ever made if they did that. Here's the thing I would say I understand, because the issue with the Minnesota Vikings is this. You had Sam Darnold in the building. You had Daniel Jones in the building. And what you did, you decided to say, you know what, I'm going to push my chips in on J.J. McCarthy. And then now you see Daniel Jones with the Colts having that success that he's having. You look at Sam Darnold looking as good as he did with Minnesota last year, and then you look at the Minnesota Vikings and they're struggling. Yeah, they got issues. You went from having those 3 guys in the building to having J.J. McCarthy and Carson Wentz. And Carson Wentz is I believe he's on IR now with a bum shoulder or elbow, something going on with him too. So it is what it is. You said I still say Sean McVay. What do you mean? Sean McVay, one of the best coaches out there, one of the smartest coaches, brightest minds of football. He's loving LA, but he has a beef. Sean McVay has a beef with the Giants, and it goes all the way back to his grandfather, and his grandfather getting fired by the New York Giants. There's some stuff happening over there, so it is what it is. Marco says Antonio Pierce for DC. He's a great motivator. I think he'd get the boys going. He was a DC in college at Arizona State. When he was with the Raiders before he became the head coach, he was a linebackers coach, so he hasn't really been a DC at the NFL level. But I believe he's smart enough. I believe he's a leader of men. I believe he's a motivator, and he's something that I would absolutely, want in the building. I don't know if necessarily a defensive coordinator, but I would definitely would like him in the building for sure. Book and Tackle says trust his staff with the future. Yeah, right. You trust them with this future? You trust the staff with the future? I don't know, man. They might not listen. If we get to the trade deadline and there's no moves being made, then maybe they're telling them that, you know what, I don't want you guys making any moves that affect the future, especially if you won't be here. So we'll see what happens with that. Dwayne says, I don't think Carl was being too harsh. He was commenting on the tape. I've been a little disappointed with Dex play as well. No, a lot of people have. And we gave, as far as leeway goes, we gave Dex like a runway worth of leeway. And it took 8 games for somebody to say something. Now, we all been saying, we put it in a different form, though. I've been saying I'm just waiting for that breakout game from Dexter Lawrence. I'm still waiting for Dex to be Dex. We've been saying that for weeks now. Dex might be out of shape still. Is he 100%? We've been saying that for weeks. But as soon as Carl Banks said it directly, it becomes an issue with some of the fan base. And again, I don't get it. If he can't call somebody out, then who can? And like I said, I don't have any issues with it at all. Let's go get Harbaugh. Harbaugh's fine with the Chargers right now, unless you're talking about the Baltimore Ravens Harbaugh. Rex Ryan for DC. I'm not against Rex Ryan for DC. It'll be next year, though, so he can implement his entire system. But I'm not against Rex Ryan for DC at all. I like Rex. At least you'll be aggressive. Mr. Dagger says we struggle with adjustments here on both sides of the ball for sure. JJ the King says, whoa, 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 Dash. Don't talk about my Tar Heels. But you're right, though. Listen. Let him. Boy, the Tar Heels would love to go back in time right now and not get Bill Belichick. I'm telling you that right now. They can't wait to get rid of that guy. And they can't. He holding them hostage too. And Bill Belichick is the type that he'll just sit there too. He got his girlfriend with him. She at the practices. Bill Belichick will sit there and watch the Tar Heels burn to the ground and won't care. And won't care. Maybe unless his girlfriend tell him it's time to go type of stuff. But yeah, that's just an awful situation to be in. Big Moo, that's a good point too. We have to stop the stupid procedural penalties. No, that's a fact. Illegal shifts, illegal motion, illegal man downfield, all those stuff. Oh, that and again, that's. I want to say that's coaching, but that's just lapses in the players as well too. Discipline, execution. You want to blame some of that stuff on coaching, but when you tell a guy what to do, you got to hope that they do it at the end of the day. Because I'm pretty sure they tell them that you can't get further than 2 yards down the field. You know what I mean? But and then as far as being able to complete your motion and come to a full stop before the hike, a lot of that stuff is fatigue too that affects some of that stuff, man. Some of that goes to the players. Some of those calls do go to the players. Phil says, Dash, I'm asking you if you would trade a second and 26 for Thomas, or would you roll the dice and spend a 1 or 2 on a wide receiver coming out? If I can get Brian Thomas for a second, I'm taking him. I'm taking him because at the end of the day, you're looking for a wide receiver in the first or second round. Brian Thomas was drafted the same year as Malik Neighbors. That means and he was a first rounder. So that means you still got 3 years of control on Brian Thomas. Now, the part that sucks is that both of them will need a contract at the same time when that happens. And then you got to make life decisions because you're not going to pay both of them. But for right now, I would absolutely trade a second for Thomas. If I can't get him, then I'm looking at one of these wide receivers in the first or second round. Whether it's Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, Makai Lemon. Those guys in the first, Denzel Boston? Those guys, yeah. Those are the targets if I can't, trade for an established wide receiver. I would hate not having a second round pick, though, because we don't have a third round either. But again, if you're getting Brian Thomas back, that's half the battle right there because that's what we're looking for, a wide receiver to pair with Malik Neighbors. Was it Sircon? There we go. Sircon the Wolf, or Sircone the Wolf. He says, save getting a wide receiver for next year. Save the picks. Get a young coach for the young players on the Giants. Again, I'm not against that. I'm gonna ask you though, Sir Cone. If they're asking for a second rounder for Brian Thomas, are you giving up that second rounder? I'm curious to see what you say about that, because that moves the needle for me. Phil says, "Well, like Jordan Tyson, if it were in the right spot, anywhere in the first round is going to be the right spot for Jordan Tyson, in my opinion. He's that damn good." And especially, I don't see the New York Giants getting the number 1 pick overall. I'll put it this way: if we're bad enough to get the number 1 pick overall, I'm trading out of that pick for a boatload of picks. And I'm filling out this roster. Mr. Cheesecake says, "I'm so sick and tired of people saying AP for DC. Just because he was a former Giant doesn't mean anything." No, I agree with that too. I understand why people want that, though. A lot of people want that. Some people want Carl Banks as a coach. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If at least with Antonio Pierce, he's been a coach already, and he did have some success. He got a chance to be the head coach for the Raiders, even though it was only for 1 year. But listen, the team believed in him enough to actually give him another trial. Darian says, "Do you think Brian Flores would come here as a head coach after the BS that happened when the Giants hired Dable? And Fedoni needs to be put in, especially in the red zone." Listen, man, you probably heard me say it before. Like when we hired Brian Dable, I was a Brian Flores guy, but I understood, why they hired Brian Dable. There was a whole Josh Allen coming from Buffalo, having success, and Josh Allen looking like, the next coming. But Brian Flores, if you're able to settle that lawsuit, come to his terms and settle that lawsuit, and then throw a bag at him, I think he could possibly be the head coach for the New York Giants. The likeliness of that happening is probably very, very slim, though. Very, very slim. Well, love it, though. He's number 1 on my list if we can make that happen for sure. If you can get Brian Flores and he can possibly bring over Josh McCown to be an OC, who's the quarterback coach now for the Vikings, I would love that combination. Absolutely love that combination. Sarkhan says, "This year is going hard on Dex. He might have a problem he is not admitting to. If he's still injured, he needs to let people know. He needs to let people know he's a new father, obviously. Coming off of the injury. Again, he looked like he was eating well. It might be just be one of these seasons where, you know what, he realized he didn't really have an off season to prepare for the season. And this is the first time that happened for him. So maybe that has a lot to do with it. Didn't have the off season that he wanted to prepare. And we're thinking that he can prepare during the season, and it's not happening right now. Listen, but also if he goes into this 49er game and looks like the Dex of old, a lot of people are going to be looking at Carl Banks like Carl Banks was right. Manny Banks says the Giants need a number 2 next to Neighbors, either draft Jordan Tyson or trade for Waddle in the offseason. I really don't believe if you can't get Waddle at the trade deadline, you're probably not going to get him in the offseason, because whatever happens with the Dolphins, I think Mike McDaniel is done. And whatever new regime gets in there, they're not going to want to get rid of Waddle for sure. For sure. So if you can't get that trade done by the deadline next week or this week, then yeah, you're not getting Waddle at all. Coach Ward, what's going on, Coach? He says, unless the floor drops on the season, meaning 2 forever, 2 and forever, Dable will be retained. However, Bowen needs to be packed up immediately. Yeah, we got to pack him up. But tell me if I'm wrong, Coach, man. I'm a conspiracy theorist. I think they're trying to hold on to Bowen as long as possible so that at the end of the season they can make him the scapegoat. Last year they tried to do it with Jerome Henderson. To me, he wasn't a big enough fish, but people accepted it. So for me, I think unless we look the way that we've been looking the last 2 weeks, I think they will. It's like Weekend at Bernie's. They're going to drag Shane Bowen's dead body all the way to the end of the season, and then they're going to make him the sacrificial lamb. That's what I think happens. Shout out to Weekend at Bernie's. Some people never seen that movie. I did. Jesse says, Dash, the O-line man from Miami, I forgot his name. O-line guy from Miami. Hunt? Who you talking about? Coach, or you talking about actual lineman? Yeah, you're not helping me. He's O-line man from Miami. It's a lot of people. Couch Coach Tommy said Rex is trash. He was trash the last several years when he had a job, and he's even further separated from the game now. He's a throwback in a forward-looking league. What about as a DC, though, Coach? What about as a DC? I wouldn't want him as a head coach either. Now, you're absolutely right. You may find a great receiver in the draft. It's a lot of them. I think the wide receivers go at least 3 rounds deep, depending on what you're looking for. You don't have 3 rounds worth of wide receiver ones, but as far as wide receiver 2s and wide receiver 2/3s, it's a pretty good class for that in the first 2 rounds. Oh boy, would you give Nick Saban an interview if he was interested in the head coaching job? Dash. First off, roll tide. Shout out to Nick Saban. No, I don't do that with Saban. No, I can't do it. The Big Moose says people have to realize that getting a first, second round pick, it's not guaranteed you're getting a good player. Look at history, especially look at the history with Joe Shane. That's why you feel that way, man. It's Joe Shane making the picks. We've been traumatized. Bo Josh says you paying Illuminor. I don't know if he's worth top right tackle money. Right now, I think the market value for somebody like Illuminor, or I should say top right tackles, make about $20 million. Right now, Jermaine Illuminor, thanks to my man Mark Thompson, corrected me this weekend, Jermaine Illuminor is making $8 million. And I think if you would have got that extension done prior to the season started, you probably would have been able to get Illuminor for about $14 million. And now you're looking at him in the $18 to $20 million range. It just depends on how you feel about your quarterback at the end of the day. Also, how you feel about Marcus Bowe, who would be the possible replacement if we did get rid of or didn't re-sign Jermaine Illuminor. So right now, I believe he's a priority to re-sign Jermaine Illuminor. If you can get him around the 17, 18 million range, I think that's a good deal for him because you do have a quarterback on a rookie contract. But once you get into like $21 million, something like that, then they're probably going to be a little bit more hesitant. But listen, it's the Giants' own fault, man. Again, we are reactive instead of proactive. If you would have extended Jermaine Illuminor in August, in July, in June, if you would have got that deal done, he would have been at least $5 million less than what the market is looking like now. And again, I hate that the Giants are so reactive instead of proactive. I don't know why they operate the way that they do. Flores is suing the Giants. No, absolutely he's suing the Giants. That's why I said it's a very, 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 very long shot to impossible. But remember, Brian Flores was John Mara's guy. Joe Shane had to push Brian Daboll on John Mara. Because Brian Flores is who John Mara wanted at the end of the day. But like I said, Joe Shane was able to talk him into Brian Daboll. Let's not forget that. That is a fact. That is something that was said during that hiring cycle. See, this is an interesting one right now. Do you think the Giants would offer Lane Kiffin the head coaching job if he get? I think he would be an option. I think somebody would throw that name out there. It's all about if Lane Kiffin wants to leave Ole Miss. No, why leave that situation, especially when they treat him like a king down there in Ole Miss. He can almost do no wrong at Ole Miss. That would be him taking a chance in the NFL. Yes, he does have that relationship with Jackson Dart, but I don't know if that relationship is strong enough for him to uproot everything that's going on in Ole Miss to come to a Giants team that he could possibly fail at. So I think Lane Kiffin is definitely a name that you would see. I don't know how viable that option is, though. My man Greg T says Dexter's pride is injured. I think it's more the beat writers than it is Dexter Lawrence. If they don't ask Dexter Lawrence any of those questions, I think Dexter Lawrence is fine. I think the comments are not said. It doesn't become a bigger story because now Dexter Lawrence has responded to Carl Banks. And we just would have saw Dexter Lawrence play well against the 49ers. And then it just would have been like, well, maybe that was a reply to what Carl Banks said. Now it's become a big issue. Everybody's talking about it and writing about it. So to me, it becomes a distraction. And now it's seen more negative than positive. Because sometimes when you call somebody out, it can be as a motivational tool. Once the beat writers got it now, is Carl Banks being disrespectful? How dare Carl Banks say this to Dexter Lawrence? Shame on Carl Banks. I don't believe none of that, man. I come from an era where the coaches will grab you by your face mask and be all in your face and say anything they wanted to say to you. And for me, you didn't know any better as a player. You just turned around and played. Whatever you took, whatever they said to you as gospel. I got to be better this, that, and the third, and you went out there and played. Nowadays, it's not the same. But that we're talking about a 2-time Super Bowl winning player, legend, possibly a future Hall of Famer, or I should say, should have been already in the Hall of Fame. Making those comments, I don't have a problem with that at all, and hopefully, Dex responds to it the right way. Manny Banks says BTJ or Waddle next to Neighbors, Dart, and Scat. Listen, if you're gonna ask me which one I would rather, I would rather have Brian Thomas Johnson because Brian Thomas Jr. because he's already, been a teammate of Malik Neighbors. They played together. The chemistry is there already. But Waddle, I'm not turning my nose up at Waddle either. Give me 51 wide receivers, Dart, and Scat. Every Giants fan under 45. That's what they saying. All the Giant fans under 45. I'm under 45. I'm not saying that. I'm close to 45 though. It is what it is. Coach Ward says facts on Scapegoat and Bowens. Yeah, listen, man. I'm a conspiracy theorist, man. I like to say I see when somebody's getting lined up, and Shane Bowen is getting lined up for real. Lined up. That's their insurance. But if the Giants keep looking, there's it's just so long that they can hold on to that card, man. If the defense continues to struggle and look bad, and teams are moving up and down the field and scoring 30 points on us, they won't be. He won't survive, the rest of the season. Come on. And I said it in a tweet. I said I would rather fire somebody before Halloween than to fire somebody at Thanksgiving or Christmas. That's just how I feel. Jesse says Evan Neal got to go, cut him or trade him. If there's a trade market for Evan Neal, go ahead and trade him. Go ahead and trade him. If you can get something for him, go ahead and trade him now. I don't care what it is. I don't care what we get back. 7th rounder, we don't have a 7th round in 2026. I'll trade a 7th rounder for him. Whatever you can get for him, because he's just going to walk. You're not going to re-sign him. I'm sorry. He can't even get a jersey. You're not going to re-sign him. Go ahead and get whatever you can for him if there's a market for him. You know what's funny? The Steelers might take him. Because they got a good offensive coach. The Steelers might take him. They could probably coach him up. The Eagles might take him because they can coach him. They can coach him up. Who knows? What I would hate to see is him actually be successful somewhere else, and then I'm gonna feel crazy about it. But again, he hasn't done anything for us, so can't cry over that spilled milk. Greg T says Giants should certainly interview Kirby Smart, Saban, and Lane Kiffin. Those Sark in there too. I'm not messing with Sarkisian. Sarkisian's drunk right now. My apologies, Steve Sarkisian. That's an old joke. Shouldn't have said it. Shout out to Coach Ward with the $5 super chat. Says played in the era where the head coach would tell you your gameplay was an abortion on film. Good Lord. These millennial players are soft, emotional, and frail. Now that's a fact. That's a fact. I used to have my coach if it rained and we were at practice, he'll make you roll around in the mud before practice starts, just so you wouldn't avoid doing it in practice. It's just different. It's just different. Kenneth Perkins, what's going on? Kenneth Perkins says, Dash, who do you want to see as head coach and GM again? Listen. I got ideas. Obviously, the head coach that I want is probably not going to happen. The least likely to happen is Brian Flores. That's who I would want as a head coach. Probably not going to happen. When it comes to the GM, I don't know. I don't know. If you were to fire Joe Shane right now, you figure you promote Brandon Brown and you give him a chance, which I don't think will be much of a chance, to operate the rest of the season to see what he can do. But I don't think that'd be a fair shake for him. But I don't know as far as GMs. I don't know. I don't know. When it comes to head coaches, you can look at some of these defensive coordinators. You got Mentor from the Chargers that could possibly be a candidate and something like that. But again, we got to get rid of these guys first. Got to get rid of these guys first. All right. Side guy Bra says, me too. I wanted Flores. I knew somebody was going to say this. It just took a little bit of time. My man Manny Banks says Gruden as head coach. I'm seeing a lot of people say that. I'm seeing a lot of AI pictures of Gruden as the head coach of the Giants. I don't know about Gruden, man. Gruden was a fantastic coach, but Gruden might be past his time too, man. He messed up his situation with the Raiders. Obviously, they got wind of some emails that he was passing, had some racial slurs in them. So, do you want to bring that kind of attention to the New York Giants? Maybe not. The game might have passed Gruden by. He's fantastic though. He's entertaining on his shows, his breakdowns. When he's out there interviewing the quarterbacks, I like everything about it. It's just, I don't know, man. I don't know if he has that same ability. Couch Coach Tommy says, no to Gruden. No. Kenneth Perkins says Gruden act like they really. Listen, man. That's a show. He does that every week. We sent him a box of goodies. He did a video for it. That was cool. We saw his his interaction with Jackson Dart. That was cool. He also called Jackson Dart a dummy for not sliding and don't get hurt. He also made fun of Jackson Dart not actually calling cadences and stuff like that. But it was in a fun manner. So I mean, it is what it is. I don't like the Gruden idea. I don't. True Baller says, I do like the idea of having Pierce on staff as a linebacker coach. Giants haven't had a good linebacker coach since AP. Somebody brought this to my attention too, man. I forget. I don't know if I was in the space. It might have been Sneaky G's show. But they were talking about the wide receivers and how our wide receiver room is not that good. And then they brought up like, what about the wide receiver coach? How good is that coach if he can't get Jalen Hyatt? If he can't develop Jalen Hyatt, these positional coaches, they play a big part in the development of these players. Like we look at Andre Patterson with Darius Alexander, and you give him a lot of credit for the development of Darius Alexander. So when a player is not developing, do we actually look at the positional coaches as much? Like with Bobby Johnson, we saw us get rid of Bobby Johnson, and then we brought in Carmen Brasillo. But we look at that offensive line as a unit, and we give Carmen Brasillo all the praise for how the unit looks. But when you look at some of these individual players like Evan Neal, you still can't get the best out of Evan Neal. Is it Evan? No, sometimes it's the player, sometimes it's the coaching. I like Carmen Brasillo. I like the way this offensive line is looking, so that might be a bad example, but when it comes to the wide receiver room and you're thinking about Grow, the wide receiver coach, is he developing these wide receivers correctly? I don't know. Hired a coach from the Hurricanes. Come on now. Kenneth Perkins says, what do you think about Jim Caldwell? I like Jim Caldwell 4 years ago. I did like Jim Caldwell 4 years ago. I don't know where Jim Caldwell is right now. You let me know where he is. Well, Jim Caldwell or Antonio Pierce's head coach? Nah, we ain't doing that. We're not doing that. Manny Banks says, how about 49ers DC Robert Saleh? I don't know. Maybe. Does he take another New York job? That's the question. I think Robert Saleh with this defense will be fantastic with these players. I think he's comfortable being back there in the Bay Area, though. I don't think he wants any part of New York City anymore. At least not in the near future. Couch Coach Tommy says, I'm glad most of these people commenting aren't my GM. Now that's hilarious. Listen, we're fans at the end of the day. Regular New York Giants fans, man. We say what's on our minds and what's on our hearts. And that's why I love the chat so much, man. Sean Jackson says Justin Tuck also needs to speak with Dex. In 2011, Tuck was a New York Giant captain, but wasn't playing like himself. But at some point during the 2011 season, Tuck got turned around despite injuries and personal stuff. And he was the leader of that defensive line at that time. I mean, you had Osi, but he was the guy then. And I wonder who was the person that spoke to him to get him to turn around. But man, listen, man. At the end of the day, I think Dex knows that he could be playing better. I do think that it caught him off guard that Carl Banks made those comments. But also at the end of the day, you got to know you're around Carl Banks all the time. He's in that building all the time. I don't think he pointed you out maliciously. I think he saw that you are the captain, one of the captains of this defense. You are one of the better players, arguably the best player for the New York Giants. So he called you out because he knows if your play improves, the rest of the team, the rest of the players will improve as well. So I think that's what Carl Banks did. I think it was strategy behind it for sure. Manny says Uncle Joe's a good GM. He knows how to draft. Just have a problem with the DC. Listen, man. Joe Shane has brought in some good players. He's drafted some good players. But as far as batting, what do you think he's in baseball terms? What do you think Joe Shane is batting right now as far as free agency and in the draft? It ain't 500. Believe that. Jesse says, Dash, I've been a G-Man fan since 1975. It's depressing seeing this embarrassment. Scatterboo, Dart wearing their pride and heart on their sleeves. Now, that's a fact, man. Again, I'm curious to see how Jackson Dart is going to play without Cam Scatterboo. Now, we saw his reaction after Cam Scatterboo left the game early last week, and I think he still played pretty well. This week, he's back at home, back under the lights with the fans. Give him all the support in the world. I can't wait to see how he reacts to this. Just think about how many obstacles Jackson Dart has had in just 5 games that he started. It's only been five games. He lost his number one wide receiver. You know, he lost his second the second wide receiver in freaking Slayton for 2 weeks. He's been using the tight ends. He's been using Wan'Dale Robinson. Then you lose Cam Scatterboo. So he's really out there, not necessarily by himself because that's disrespectful to say. It's 11 guys out there on offense. But he's had a lot of tests already in the first 5 games, man. And he's pretty much, excelled in all of those tests already. He's passed in all of those tests already. So I'm curious to see how he does, this week against the 49ers. Defense is going to be well coached, well prepared, even though they're dealing with a lot of injuries and missing players. It's going to be a test. And I have a lot of faith in Jackson Dart. Atlantic JM says Joe Shane bats about a 222 in baseball terms, below average. That sounds about right to me. Luann says Dash, Dable, and Shane are good together. Shane had a good couple of drafts. No GM is perfect, Dash. He has 4 drafts. 2, we believe, were good. 1 was okay, starting to look better than what it was, and then 1 was awful. So we'll see what happens, man. Still a lot of storylines that need to be told. Clifton Harris says Cowboys 10-6-1, Eagles 9-8, Commanders 6-11, Giants 4-13. Come on, Cliff. Cliff, you really trying to clean house. We go 4-13, the house is clean. Nobody's surviving 4-13. I'm sorry. I am sorry. Manny Banks says in the next 2 to 3 years, Dart will be better than Daniels, Dax, and Hurts. I can see that. I can absolutely see that, but it all depends on what we put around him too. Because when you look at Jaden Daniels and you look at the squad around him, they're struggling. Dak has no defense, and then Jalen Hurts is Jalen Hurts. That's all I can say about that. Kenneth Perkins says Shane and Dable aren't good. The proof is in the 4 years. That's where I'm at when it comes to Brian Dable. I was so mad when the guy on the fan McCongle when he made the comments that he considers this as year one of the regime because we just got Jackson Dart. And to me, that just made me so mad. Just saying that, like, no, these guys get credit for all of the years they've been here. You can't count this year and not count the 3 years prior. And to me, the job overall just has not been good enough. And I hate that people, like I said, if it wasn't for, like, if we did not draft Jackson Dart, how would you feel about this regime? You probably would want to get rid of him too. So don't let Jackson Dart's play be the reason why you keep these guys. Because, again, it's not the New York Darts. It's the New York Giants. And even though Dart is playing well and he looks good, how does the rest of the team look around him? You got to throw everything together when we think about these things. Jesse says Dart is now baptized as a legit pro quarterback. Why we keep Mr. Ride Hard? Get rid of him, Mr. Ride Hard. I'm assuming you're talking about Dable. But yeah, man. I think Jackson Dart can be successful without Dable. Point blank. Period. Point blank. Period. All right, Couch Coach Tommy says since Dable ran Dart on 2 QB runs for a meaningless touchdown, risking his health and safety, I have no faith in the fact Dable's going to have Dart's best interest at heart. Dable is definitely trying to save himself, and Jackson Dart is one of those vehicles that can save Brian Dable. But you're absolutely right. I was so pissed off. Yes, the touchdown is fine. You made the gap a little bit closer as far as the ending score. But nobody, that touchdown does not change the ass whooping that the Philadelphia Eagles gave us. It doesn't. And Brian Dable, knowing that Jackson Dart has almost been in the tent in every game that he played, he ran them at the goal line 2 straight times. 2 straight times. He took hits both of those times at a meaningless point of the game. And for me, that is absolutely a fireable offense because that is your future quarterback. He shouldn't even have played in that last 3 minutes. Shouldn't even been playing in that last 3 minutes. But not only does he play in those last 3 minutes, you're running him like it's in the second quarter. And yeah, I can't respect that at all. That's just bad coaching, bad decision making. And we already know he has a history of that. I'm about to wrap this thing up, though, man. It's already almost midnight out there on the East Coast. So we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to get a couple more comments and we'll close this thing out. Again, I appreciate you for the love and support. Please, please, please make sure you hit that like button. Just go ahead and click out of the comments. Go ahead and hit that like button. Had about 65 people in here. Hopefully we got close to that in likes, man. It does more than you guys even know. Make sure I didn't miss any super chats. I did not. Manny Banks 33 says Brian Thomas Johnson or Tyson Robinson Bellinger / Johnson, Neighbors, and Scat is good offensive core going into next season. It would be fantastic to have that. That makes us automatic contenders in what we're missing. Defense got to step up too. Nova Nebula, what's going on, Nova? He says, I hope Dex carries that anger over into his play. He better. He absolutely better. Because guess what? Just think about this round 2, man, because, again, Carl Banks is smart to me. You put that information out, and now he's responded to it. What if Dex does not have a good game? It's like a lose-lose situation almost for Dex. Because if you play well, or if you play better than what you've been playing, Carl Banks was right. If you end up playing bad, Carl Banks was right. It's like a Jedi mind trick or something like that, man. It is what it is, though. Dex got to show up, that's for sure. And against that offensive line, Dex should be able to show up too. Jesse says, Scatterboo needs to be coached to You got to teach a running back to slide? Yeah, right. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. True Baller says, Dable is a fan of Jackson Dart. That's the wrong dynamic to have between coach and a quarterback. Now, that's 100%. Just think about Parcells and Sims. They're dynamic. They're on the sidelines cussing each other out, calling each other all types of names. I don't need my coach hugging my quarterback every time he runs off the field. That's for sure. That's for sure. But you know what it is? It's almost like, parents these days, they want to be more friends than parents to their kids, and ultimately that does not work. You can't be a head coach and be a friend at the same time, because at some point in time you're going to have to be a disciplinarian, and your players are not going to respect you. So we'll see what happens with that, though. But that's it, man. I'm gonna close this thing out. I appreciate everybody for joining. We will have the late night Giants talk on Saturday. Make sure you guys tune in for that before the 49ers game. And yeah, man, it should be a good one. It should be a good one. Jesse says good night, Dash, and the people go G, man. We're gonna end it on that note right there. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody for vibing with me. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And from one Giants fan to another, this is Big Dash Knows Big Blue Nation. Let's go.